All right. Good morning, brothers and sisters. Here we go. We are in Genesis 26, verses 7 through 11. What we got going on here is that Isaac is now in the land of Gerar with King Abimelech, the king of the Philistines. And we have a Abraham and Sarah situation with Isaac and Rebekah. When Isaac gets to Gerar, he dwells there, and he tells his wife, "Hey, check it out. I want you to tell him, I'm gonna tell him you're my sister. All right." He's afraid they're gonna kill him. His dad did the same thing with Sarah, with the same king in the same land. Uh, he's like, "We're gonna say you're my sister because I'm afraid that they're gonna kill me to get to you. Because you a big yum baby. He's like, okay, And they've been there for about a good minute now, and as a day passes by, time passes by, and King Abimelech looks out his window, and he sees Isaac caressing Rebecca. Sorry, these names are all over. Abraham, Isaac, Rebecca, all these different names. I'm trying to get it right. But Abimelech sees Isaac caressing Rebecca, and he's like, "Come here, buddy." Like, "Yo, dude." He goes, "Obviously, she's your wife." And he's like, "Why did you lie to us?" He's like, "I was afraid that you'd see her and kill me." He's like, "Dude, why did you do such an evil thing to us?" Why? Because one of my men could have laid with her, and we would have been guilty of a great sin, not just a sin, but a great sin, adultery, sleeping with another man's wife. Okay. Now I want you to look up what adultery is and why God considers adultery very wicked, because Israel committed adultery against God with other demons, other fallen angels, other gods, little g. I don't like calling them gods because then it takes away from the authority of God. They say big G, but over the Lord, all caps, Yahweh Elohim. All right. So I don't like saying gods, but that's the verbiage now. The gods, little g. They committed adultery against Yahweh, against the Lord, and worshipped other gods, other demons or deities that are fallen angels and whatnot. So God hates adultery. Okay, so he's like, man, he goes, we could have been guilty of adultery. So he made a decree. Everybody check it out. This fool and that woman, they connected. That's husband and wife. Do not touch or you shall die. So here's our ministers to me. Learned behaviors. Sometimes the sons take over the sins of the fathers. They take on the sins of the fathers, and I like right here where it says, only through heaven's healing can family break generational sins. Only through heaven's healing power can families break generational sin. Not generational curse, a generational sin. The insert down here is which I really like. It shows children learn from their parents. Unfortunately, they're not necessarily selective about what they learn. They don't always learn the good things and ignore the bad. These verses demonstrate what Isaac learned from his father, Abraham. Doubtless, he had learned how Abraham had passed Sarah off as his sister to protect himself. It is amazing how the sinful patterns of our parents are often repeated in our own lives. How often our family patterns of sin repeat themselves, generation after generation. Again, the learned behavior. He saw his father do this with his mama. And he did it out of fear. Fear for his life, not fear of God. God said that I will be with you. I will be with you. I will protect. That's part of the promise. And you know what? Isaac got his eyes off of God and got his eyes on man. Like, man, there's a lot of dudes. It's just me against the kingdom. And she cute and just like, He did not trust the Lord. Trust is key. He lied to protect himself, which means he did not trust the words of God, the promise of God. Trust in God is one weapon we have in fighting against destructive family patterns. Again, I repeat, trust in God is one weapon we have against fighting family patterns. This weekend, my daughter's going to prom, and we got a lot of stuff going on this weekend. And I just, as my kids are all older now, and I see some of the things that my kids are doing, some of the sins they commit. Some of it's learned behavior. Some of it is just their character. Some of it is just being human. And as I see them sin certain ways, I realized that that was the error of my way. They saw me do it. If dad can do it, why can't I? And dad's a Christian. If dad can do it, why? And it's just like, I remember back in the 80s, there was this commercial on TV where a father walks into a room all upset with a box full of drugs. And he approaches his son's bedroom, and he walks in the bedroom, and the son's on the bed, listening to his Walkman, the old Walkmans. He's like, son, he's all mad. He goes, look, he goes, how could you do this? Who do you think you are? Well, this is wrong. This is illegal. Where did you get this from? How did you do this? Where did you learn how to do this? And the son's looking at his father yelling at him. The son just stops, and he just looks at the father and yells at him, I learned it from watching you. And I was like, man, that's the stupidest commercial I ever saw as a kid. Well, then I ended up doing drugs and being just like my dad. I learned it from watching him. My dad never got busted for drugs. He got busted for violence, And I see now with my kids and just some of the things that they do. It's like, oh, Lord, forgive me. How do I help them break that pattern, that cycle? And prayer. The healing prayers, fervent prayers. It's this morning it ministered to me because just watching what learned behaviors are due to a lack of trust in God. He committed this sin to protect himself out of fear for man, fear for losing his life, fear for losing his wife. He did not trust what God had said. And trust in God is key. Trust the process. Trust what God's going to do. If he made a promise to you, this is what I'm going to do, he's going to do it. It reminds me of Jesus with the disciples, when they're on one side of the lake or the ocean or the shore. He tells them, hey, check it out. I'm going to meet you on that side, all right? To jump on the boat and I'll meet you over there. Well, you know what? Jesus said, I'm going to meet you over there. As they're in the boat, there's a storm coming, the tempest, things are blowing, like, man, we're going to die. Oh no, what are we going to do? And woe is me. They got their eyes on the storm and forgot what Jesus had said. Meanwhile, out in the ocean, in the water, they see Jesus walking on water. They're like, yo, dude, is that you? They're like, it's a ghost. And Peter's like, if that's you, Lord, call me out to walk on the water. And that's when Peter walks on water. The point is, they made it to the other side. When Jesus said, I'm going to meet you there, he said, I'm going to meet you there. He didn't say that it would be an easy trip. He didn't say it'd be an easy route. He said, I'm going to meet you there. When God says he's going to do something, he's going to do something. He never says it's going to be easy. Point is, breaking generational sin. Trust is key. Trust the process. Trust the Lord. Lean not on your own understanding. I know this may not be much to you this morning, but for me, it really resonates with me because I got a busy weekend with my kids, my family, and just getting to catch up with them and just as they, share with me what's going on in life. And, there's some things they say that I don't approve of or love, but I love them and I love the Lord and I trust the Lord and I trust the process. If God can get me through alcohol and drugs and porn and addiction and violence, he can heal me from all that, breaking that generational sin from my father. If he can do that to me, jacked up from the crack up, tore up from the floor up, he can do that for you too. Look in the gospel. He does it for a lot of people. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to leave it there right now. Much love to you all. Peace be with you. May the joy of the Lord be your strength. And remember, choose wisdom over the world. God bless.